everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast. Once again, thank you so much for my return visitors and my subscribers. I so appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed, please consider hitting that button, and where I can continue to bring you great guests like the one I have today. I have AMY GOULD from Eden on Fire with me today. Eden on Fire, a symphonic melodic metal band from Erie, Pennsylvania. AMY formed the band during the global pandemic in 2021, which couldn't have been easy. They have spent their first 4 years playing relentlessly throughout several states, collecting accolades and awards, and recording a full-length debut album. That album is called Unresolved, and it is available now on the DI Records label. AMY, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate you.
Oh,
Thank you.
absolutely. I hope it helps get the word out because you're doing great things here with Eden on Fire. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoy the record. How difficult, I see you put it together during a global pandemic when music is pretty shut down. Was it more difficult to do that during that time or a little easier? Everybody's at home.
It's interesting. I started, well, a little backstory. I had been out of the music scene for quite some time. I was in a really crappy marriage that kind of took me out of music. I was doing other types of music, but not the rock scene anymore for quite some time. And when the pandemic hit and we were all stuck at home, I had finally just gotten out of that marriage and like, yay, I'm back into life. And then boom, pandemic, we're stuck at our
Right,
houses.
right.
But it actually kind of worked out okay for me because I needed that time to heal, and music became my healing process. So I sat down at the piano and started cranking out all these tunes, some of which are actually on this album. So that part worked out well. And then, I had all this music and I'm like, I need a band. So the world started to open up. I met Scott Haggerty, our bass player. We started working together and then we started seeking musicians. So it wasn't easy, but it wasn't as hard as I think it could have been because everybody sort of, if they had been in a band, weren't necessarily in a band anymore. So things have
Right.
kind of got put on hiatus. So um, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, I guess, to find people.
Yeah, yeah. And I started thinking about that, and I said, everything was difficult at that time,
Yeah,
other than sitting on your couch,
yeah.
moving around, and everything else was difficult. But again, everybody's kind of at home wanting to do something. So,
Right. Everybody was really itching to get out. I think our biggest difficulty has been how the bar scene and the music scene in general has changed from COVID, especially up here in Erie. And I know it's different in different cities, but our city never seemed to bounce back in terms of how late the bars stay open and things like that. Most of the bars here close down at 11 o'clock now.
really,
So yeah, so
wow.
we're playing shows that start at 6 p.m. sometimes and 7 p.m.
Wow.
And so it's really a different world here. And
Yeah.
people, if you have like a four-band show or something like that, they're like, oh, it's gonna get late. It's 10 o'clock, and I'm like, we're used to not even starting till 10 o'clock, but
Right, right.
it's changed here quite a bit.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, no, I'm in the Chicago area and it went right. It's more rabid than it ever was.
That's great.
Yeah, there's more people coming out because I think we got a taste of what it would be like to not have what we love.
Right,
The live music scene.
right.
Yeah, everybody missed it so much. I saw that you were debuting a new lineup this
Yes.
weekend.
Well,
Exciting.
yeah, it
But
actually we debuted them a month ago.
oh,
So
okay.
this will be our third time out. This last weekend we played with them for the first time in Erie. We had our first show together on February 8th in Buffalo, New York. So that
Okay.
was our first time out. So yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just over the moon with this new lineup. We had a couple members that were with us from the beginning that just felt like this wasn't the direction they wanted to go. We're getting to the point where it's looking like we're going to start touring and going on to bigger things. And this was getting to be too much for them. They have family lives, they have other things that they're doing. So these guys came along that I have now, and we have just kicked the band up a notch. Connor McCrae, my guitar player, is just, I want to say, I'm going to brag a little, but I would say he's probably the fastest guitar player on the East Coast. He is amazing. And he's not just fast, but he's got an ear and he's excellent. So I'm just over the moon that I got Connor. And Steve Sarvaggi, our drummer, he was semi-retired. I pulled him out of retirement to come play with us. He's played in projects. His last project, Endeavor, they toured, and he's amazing. The two of them, I've given them sort of some leniency with the songs. I said, you don't have to play these like the last members did. I want you to have creativity.
Right.
I want people to recognize the album, but
Right.
make it your own. And so the songs have just been improved so drastically with these two new members. So I'm just over the moon. Like we played this last weekend to a sold out house and it was amazing. And so I'm just really happy with the way things are going right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's any band really. Even your biggest bands, there's going to be changing members and people move on and have things that they do. It can be difficult for sure.
Right.
Um, you're in Erie, Pennsylvania. The scene seems pretty strong and supportive, even though they close at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Um, have you ever thought about taking it to, the LA or the Nashville, the bigger scene?
Yeah, so as far as picking us up and moving us there at this point, probably not, but it's a consideration for the future. I mean, everybody sort of has their families here. We're not all spring chickens, so
Right, right,
I don't know what that would look like yet. In terms of traveling, though, we are looking to do that. We are looking to eventually branch out. We're trying to figure out how to make that feasible. Touring today is tricky.
oh, it
Um,
is.
there really isn't a lot of money in it, and so we're trying to figure out how to make it feasible so that we're not living on crackers in a van,
Right.
like Chris Farley does at Saturday
Right, right.
Night Live, that character. So we're trying to like actually make this feasible. So what we've been trying to do is little mini tours where we can just go for long weekends and then come back, but we're trying to get further out, so eventually that's not going to be feasible either. So right now we're on that cusp of doing that. We just really started that about 2 years ago. We did our first little mini tour. Last year we did a little bit more. I foresee this summer being a little bit bigger of a touring season for us. So that's
Fantastic. That's good news. That's good news. Yeah, and a lot of bands that I talk to, they're if they can break even, they're happy.
yeah,
Just to get the band name out there and to get the
yeah,
music out to people. They just don't want to lose.
right.
And I mean it's changed over the years.
It has.
A tour used to be a thing you did to make money. Uh,
Right.
Not so much anymore.
No.
It's very, very difficult. Yeah.
Being an original musician is not a dollar sign for sure. And I've told anybody who ever wanted to work with us, and when I was trying to find new members for the band, I made it very clear, if you're in this for the money, this is not the right reason to do this. Go be
Right.
in a cover band somewhere. You're going to make great money.
Yep.
And
Yep.
don't do this because that's not what it's about at all. We don't make money. We're hoping to make enough money to shoot the next video.
Right. Right.
That's our goal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And you keep dumping it back in. And
yeah,
that's a love
yeah,
for what you do. And
exactly.
that's appreciated for sure. The writing process, that has that changed with the new lineup? Are they writers? How does your writing process work?
So we haven't gotten to the point where we're writing with the new guys yet. But I do know Connor real well because actually I've picked up guitar. As you can see, I'm not great at it yet, but I have way too many guitars for somebody who's just learning. And I've actually been playing for a few years, but I Connor was my guitar teacher, so that's how he came about becoming a member of the band. And he's phenomenal. So I have an idea of how that's all going to work. But I'm usually the primary songwriter in the band anyway. A lot of times I will write on piano first and then bring it to the band. And then sometimes it doesn't have keyboards and piano in it, but it'll start out there anyway. And I'll say, well, this is the
Yeah.
foundation. Now let's write a riff around that, and I'll pull the keyboards out. But lots of times it remains. I did write one song that we have that's not on this album that will be on the next, called Queen Bee, that I wrote on guitar. So our
Nice.
last guitar player took it and kind of fancied up the riff a little bit for me. But so I'm doing a lot of that now. And so Connor and I work pretty closely together. So I think that's going to work really well. And Steve is really good at coming up with his own, he's already doing it, and Connor's actually done that as well. So I see a lot of really good potential. There's one song that we do on the album that there was always something about it. I like it, but it wasn't my favorite song that we do.
Right.
And Connor just did something new to the riff in it. And now I love it. It's like one of my favorite songs now. And he just changed a tiny little thing. And I'm like, oh, that's what it was missing all along. So I'm very optimistic about this future. We've only had about, I want to say 5 or 6 practices together as a band as a whole. And we're kicking butt. I'm just very optimistic.
See, and it's great because all those passions you have for the band and that all of that is it keeps getting renewed. When you go further, it can go both ways. I've seen bands that have lasted a very long time. They're just tired. They're just tired of doing it, and it's so sad to see that. Uh,
Yeah.
but then I see, every once in a while something happens and it renews that passion and keeps that band going. And I see that happening here. And it's really
Yeah.
great when you see that for sure. Is there a song that sits a little closer to your heart? I hear Broken
Yeah.
and it really feels like it's coming from a little bit of a different place. It just has that something to it where it hits me a little different. Wake the Monster,
Yeah.
big epic feel, just an amazing solo on that one too. So there's certain ones that hit me differently. Is there, you're so close to it and you've
Yeah.
written them. Is there one that sits closer to your heart?
Um, you know, all of them have a special, different meaning to me. I mean, I write what I feel, as you can tell. None of my songs are written about somebody else, or, I'm not like Led Zeppelin writing about, The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings.
Right,
I'm
right.
pretty much writing about what I'm feeling at that given moment in time. Um, Fallen was one that I wrote in retrospect of the relationship that I was in my marriage. And it was a very bad abusive situation. So it was that one, I think, probably out of all of them is probably the darkest of all of my songs. And it's one that everybody like, oh, I relate to it. And when people started telling me they related to it, I was like, oh no, I don't relate to
Right.
that one. But I think everybody interprets it a little differently. But it's a very dark song. And so that one maybe is the one that is probably the most emotional, I think, that I did. Um, and I had to tell my mother after I wrote it, I was like, Mom, I don't feel like this anymore. It's in retrospect, it's all good.
Yeah.
But all of them again, Wake the Monsters kind of one that is applicable to today because of the situation that I was in. It's about being triggered basically from trauma. And so it's like basically don't push me over that edge. If you know what I'm like, don't push that because you will wake the monster and you
Right.
might not get what you deserve, but you're going to get it anyway. So that's kind of what that song's about. Um,
Yeah.
so they're yeah, they all have a special meaning. And Broken, yeah, that was about a relationship I was in where somebody was really letting me down, and I thought it was something, and then they just pulled the rug out from underneath me.
Yeah.
And Where Love Resides, similarly.
Uh,
um,
Another great one. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, all of them really. And Brigade, as you can tell, is one that was like, I'm afraid to get hurt again.
Right.
So putting up those walls. I don't know. I don't know how to pick one. They're all like very, very meaningful to me.
They're your children.
They
Yeah.
are. They were my
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that's great.
that's pretty much how I work through things.
See that's great, and I feel that when I listen to the record, I could feel a piece of you inside of that. It's very giving
Thank you.
in that way, and it's beautiful. You're signed with DI Records.
Yes.
What's the responsibilities there? Is it a particular number of records? How's it work? What's your deal with DI Records?
So DI is really flexible. One of the reasons we opted to sign with them right away, we did not expect it to get signed that quickly. Um, they reached out to us unexpectedly. I was getting ready. I'm like, we got to get a demo together so I can start soliciting to everybody. And then they came to us and I was like, holy crap. Wow. Okay, cool. They are a distribution only label. So they distribute for us digitally. So, and our contract is really flexible with them. We don't have anything that we have to do with them, but they take care of all the distribution for us. So it's kind of a win-win for us.
Yeah,
Whenever we have material, we give it to them. They take care of all of that for us. And then we just, they take a little cut, but nothing significant. And of course, with streaming revenue,
yeah.
zero of zero,
Right.
it's pretty much anymore. But yeah, so they help us out with that. And then it's helped give us an elevation to show, we're worthy of being signed. So that helps get us above the crowd a little bit. So it's
Absolutely.
been very beneficial for us.
Yeah, that's great. And there are independent bands that I've spoken with, and they do everything themselves. The Adelita's Way does that, and Dirty Honey was doing that for a long time. These are bands that have done very well for themselves,
Yeah.
but they work. I mean, they work. It's a constant battle of, all of that red tape of the industrial side of it, the administrative side. They're doing it all themselves. And that's a tiresome thing. It's very,
And not to say that we aren't doing that as well, because with them just
of
doing
course.
distribution, we're still handling all the rest of that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it is
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
They do help us with some of the promotion and things like that on the distribution end of things, but otherwise, we're still
Oh,
doing
yeah.
all the promoting and all that. So and of course on a shoestring budget, we're still doing all the DIY stuff. So I was
Yeah.
just having this discussion with our drummer today because he's, fairly new and explaining to him, you know, how things get done and like our lyric videos I do because we don't have $500 to throw at every single song to do a lyric video, so whenever we do a
Right.
lyric video I'm doing them. So
Yeah.
we're trying to save money that way here and there so we can save it for big music videos instead.
Yeah.
So that's been
Yeah.
our
Let, let's
goal.
let's talk about the videos. I don't think I've seen a band have more fun with video. It's a lot of fun. You've got Broken and Listen to Me that are
Yeah.
feature the band. It's Listen to Me about 13 minutes.
I know it's a long one.
But it's a mini movie.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool and fun. You got a bunch of lyric videos that you've done. So you're getting that out there, and that video format is really popular. I mean, people discover music a lot that way. So it's great to see that. Tell me about making the videos, and are we going to see more of those? I know it's time and it's expense, but you look like you're really having fun with it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's been some of the funnest things that we've done, I think, anyway. So when we decided we were going to do a music video, I said to the guys, I said, listen, I don't want to do the same old thing where everybody's, in the warehouse with the fancy lighting and the flashing and the camera angles. And I mean, it's great, but I want something different. I want one of the old fashioned 80s, storyline videos, and let's make it fun, let's make it entertaining. And so I had this overall concept of the teacher idea in my head for Listen to Me. Because, of course, listen to the teacher, that's what popped in my brain. That's not what the song is about at all, but it just kind
Right.
of had that idea in my head. And my initial thought was to make the guys my students, but um, I went to a teacher friend of mine and I said, hey, what are the odds that we could use your classroom or something like that? And she was like, let me find out. And within like 30 minutes, she had an answer for me. She's like, not only can you use the classroom, I have another teacher friend here who actually directs horror films and stuff, and he writes them, and
Oh,
he would be happy to get on board. And so James Howell jumped on board and he wrote the script for us. So
that's
we
so
had
cool.
this whole new script, which, was a little bit different than my original idea, but it was better. So we needed kids for it though.
Right.
Um, and so we were having a little trouble finding kids for a while because, of course, parents were like, I don't know what this. And kids are all busy and they're doing
Yeah.
things. So it was kind of the day of the video shoot. We did this all in one day. that kids got pulled into this. A couple of the kids were just there because they had parents that worked in the school and it was summer. So the girl in the video, if you've watched it, that stares me down for like 30 seconds very awkwardly is the principal's daughter. She was
Oh
there with
wow,
dad just for the day.
that's so cool.
I know.
So cool.
She didn't even have any idea she was going to be in a music video that day. So, but we had such a great time with those kids. We had like our own little school of rock. When we took a break, we got instruments out and the kids were playing music instruments and we were jam. We had a jam session with them. It was so much fun. And like I said, we shot it all in one day. So we were there pretty much from morning till like dinner time with them. But it
Uh,
was a lot of fun.
oh, and they have to love the finished product, and
Oh, yeah.
they're in a rock video. How cool is that? Uh,
Yeah, they all had stars in their eyes by the end of the thing. So it was
sure,
fun.
sure, that's
Yeah,
awesome. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
yeah.
Uh, your plans to tour, you're trying to put something together. Any particular place that you've always dreamed about playing?
Oh, well, I want to play in Germany on Wacken stage.
There you go. There you go.
I'm
That's
gonna
a
if you're
great
gonna
one.
shoot for the stars, shoot high, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's funny. On the East Coast, I usually get Madison Square Garden. On
Yeah,
the West Coast, I usually get like the Forum or the Whiskey. Because of the legend that they hold. Wacken is wow. Uh,
yeah,
you know, every year I look at that lineup and I'm like,
yeah,
someday I'm gonna go out there and
yeah,
stand in that crowd of 200,000 people
yeah.
and try to watch, a show and just enjoy that whole thing. Yeah, that would be pretty
That
cool.
would be amazing. Honestly, our music is probably more well received overseas than it is here because of the female fronted, symphonic metal is really big over there. So I figure we probably have a better chance of getting on that stage than we do Madison Square Garden.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah, totally.
yeah,
Yeah, and you don't get 200,000 or whatever it is at Madison Square Garden.
yeah,
So yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
Something to look forward to.
yeah.
Amy, this has been great.
Thank you.
Yeah, please come back and do this again. If you
Absolutely.
get a tour together, you're always welcome. Doors
Thank
always
you so
open.
much. I really
You
appreciate
got it.
you.
You got it. I so appreciate you and the music. It's special. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Thank
Thank
you
you
very
very much.
much.
I'll see you soon, Amy.
All right. Thank you.
Take
Rock
care.
on.
All right, you too. Bye bye.